nation debt to developing countries. And clause 33 says that by 2020, the scale of financial flows to support adaptation in developing countries will be in the vicinity of $140 billion a year. And option 7 on page 35 talks about a global levy of 2% on international financial markets, market transactions to Annex 1, and these countries are all listed in Annex 1, and those countries will get that money from countries like ours. Now, if we are going to be party to giving away our wealth to other countries, is there any democracy left here where we discuss this with the electorate?
Well, of course there is. But, Alan, all of this what you're talking about is a draft document. I mean, there is no way that anything like this would be accepted without extensive debate. If I could just remind you, you talk about Obama as though he's some kind of idiot. I mean, the fact of the matter is, as you and Lord Monckton would know, I'm sure, is that no treaty can be agreed to by an American president. It has to go to the Congress. So the process of treaty ratification in America, and without the Americans signing up to this, nothing is going to happen. So is very, very elaborate. So you
haven't even mentioned this treaty, and you could have belted the government over the head with it, but you're party to it.
I'm not party to that treaty.
Well,
I haven't.
No, you're party to this whole climate change hype.
Well, Alan, the big difference between you and me is that
you're the opposition leader.
No, the big difference between you and me is that you believe climate change is a hoax.
I do.
You believe we don't have to do anything about it.
Absolutely got me in the
And your view is shared by about 15% of Australians.
Oh, you haven't tested that. You haven't tested that. There's a figure today that said only 22% of Australians believe that this is the major issue that it once was. The figures are dwindling every day as people become more aware of the fact this is going to take $50 billion out of the Australian economy, the ETF legislation, in 4 years. Can you imagine people out there saying, hang on, I'm struggling as it is now, and you're party to allowing $50 billion to be taken out of our economy in 4 years, and it could be more?
Well, Alan, you and I go back a long way. We just have to agree to be friends and agree to disagree. I believe climate change is a real threat. I believe that the world should take effective global action. I believe Australia should be part of it. We have to do so in an environmentally effective and economically responsible way, and that's why I have proposed a series of amendments to Kevin Rudd's poorly designed emissions trading scheme.
But document
look, let me just get this straight, Alan. It's fine for you to carry on here as though climate change is a hoax and anyone who believes in it is an idiot. In that case, the whole world is run by governments led by idiots, by your standards.
On the basis of where they stand in terms of finances, that's most probably true.
Well, don't you
Gordon Brown.
But don't you think you sound like the old lady who says the whole world's mad?
Well, is Professor Lindsay...
Me and thee, and I have my doubts about thee.
Professor Lindsay from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology is regarded as the world's leading climatologist. Is he man, is he?
Well, Alan, it is... look, I'm not...
Then if there is
Well, you're saying anyone that doesn't agree with you is...
I'm not saying anything of the kind. If there's doubt and uncertainty, why are we going with such certainty on a program that could be nothing at the end of the day other than hype?
Alan, what we are doing is taking a cautious, risk management approach. Now, I believe you are a great admirer of Margaret Thatcher, correct? Are you an admirer of Margaret Thatcher?
Very much so.
Well, Margaret Thatcher set up the International Panel on Climate Change. She was the first world leader to argue strongly for action of this kind. Nicolas Sarkozy, another conservative, President of France, strongly favours it. John McCain, Republican candidate at the last election in the US, who was beaten by Obama, agreed with Obama on the need for climate change.
After scientists on this program, and now I find the existence of a document here which is going to transfer money from us to the South American bloc, the African bloc, and the Arab Muslim bloc, countries with the most to go, and they've got the most votes in the 192 in the United Nations. So we'll suck up to them, sign the document, and there's the treaty, which has never been presented to the Australian people by the Prime Minister or the alternative Prime Minister.
Well, Alan, the treaty, I do not have a copy of that treaty. The treaty will be negotiated over a long period, and the controversial elements in it will be debated. But I can assure you, you've got to recognise that countries, whether it's Australia, the United States, the Europeans, the Japanese, are not going to enter into agreements that devastate their economies. I mean, unless you think everyone except you is crazy.
why wouldn't you, and we've got to end it here, but why wouldn't you be asking Kevin Rudd what deals have already been done in all those meetings that have occurred? There have been meetings all over the world about this. They haven't been talking about nothing. What deals have been done at these meetings?
Well,
Barcelona, New York, Bangkok, all closed sessions. There's been planning and engineering of the outcome of COP15, it's called. 15,000 so-called environmental jet setters winging their way into Copenhagen. Now, what deals have been done at those meetings at Barcelona, New York, Bangkok? What have they been talking about, if not this treaty, and how to get it signed?
Have you finished the question now?
I am.
Right. Well, of course they're talking about the mechanisms for achieving a global agreement. And of course there has to be collaboration between the developed world and the developing world. And of course the poorest countries are going to need assistance from the wealthiest countries. That is patently obvious, and it always has been so. The question is, how is it done? And what is the effective mechanism? And that's what's being discussed. And as far as, if you ask Kevin Rudd what has been agreed, he will say, I'm sure, that as yet nothing has been agreed. There's been a lot of discussion and a lot of debate, but I met with the number 2 man in China on the weekend, Li Keqiang. The Chinese are very committed to action on this issue. They are not mad. They're no more mad than Obama.
So just before you go, one final question for today. So you've agreed that there will be a transfer of wealth from countries like Australia to developing countries, and we just have to cop that, do we?
No, Alan, it is... Look,
we'd have no say in it. It's not been discussed with the people. How much? When? How? Not been discussed with us poor dumb voters. See, I don't want to demean you, but you are a public servant. You are there because you chose to serve the people. Where do the people get a say in any of this? None. They're just mushroom club. We're told nothing, but you know best. Kevin Rudd knows best, and we must do your bidding. Well, I'm sorry. There's a stack of people out there who aren't prepared to do your bidding.
Well, okay, let me just say this to you, Alan. There is and has been under governments of all, complexions in Australia and every other developed country, programs of foreign aid to assist developing countries with, in development issues and in particular with environmental issues. John Howard, when he was Prime Minister, allowed Alex Downer and I to set up a $200 million fund to assist developing countries, particularly Indonesia in this case and PNG, with action to prevent deforestation. This is the Global Initiative on Forests and Climate. This kind of thing happens all the time. Of course there is a debate about the size and extent and the nature of our foreign aid. And there always has been and there always will be. And that debate goes on, and parties run for office with different pledges, if you like, about how much foreign aid they'll give, and they get elected. Voters take that into account when they elect them. So the idea that this is somehow or other not a public issue is just false. There is a very lively debate about the size of our foreign aid.
You've already said you don't know anything about that document, you said, and until last Monday no one in Australia knew about it until I interviewed Lord Monckton. No one in Australia had spoken about the treaty, and this is the guts of Copenhagen. We've got to go.
Right.
I thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Malcolm Turnbull, the opposition leader.